This is a 102.7 FM Toowoomba original podcast.
Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. And I have three very special women in the studio with me today, and they are part of a group called Knitting Nannas Against Gas. Welcome Rhonda, Fran and Morley. I saw you ladies sitting outside David Janetsky's office, and you've been there for a while now, protesting. What are we protesting? I'm going to start with you, Rhonda, because you are the convener, is that right, of Knitting Nannas Against Gas?
No, not really. We describe ourselves as a disorganisation, so we don't actually have a convener. But I guess I'm the holder of the email addresses. That's my title. We're all equal in the group. Why I'm doing it, I've been doing it for a long time. I do it for future generations. I do it because I love this country. I love nature. And I see it being destroyed by gas and coal and greed. And I want to just alert people to what's happening. And I think the only thing that can really turn it around is people power and people putting pressure onto governments of all persuasions to pull back on what they're doing. It's not necessary. We don't need it. We've got renewables and we need more of those. And they will supply our power going into the future. These technologies are old technologies that we don't need in Australia, and we should be pulling back instead of increasing them at an alarming rate.
Well, I do want to talk about renewables and your thoughts on gas being a transition fuel to renewables. But I guess what I really am fascinated by you three and your group is what makes someone go out, put on a yellow shirt, take their knitting with them, and have you ever protested before, Fran?
No, this is my very first protest. I've always wanted to. I was a bit of a latter-day hippie. I turned 70 this year, so I was a bit too young when the movement was on and a bit too old sort of thing. Anyway, I was up at DDEC one day recently and Rhonda went past and she said, "Oh, you'd make a good knitting nana." I said, "What's that?" And so I looked into it, and it's just something that I feel really passionate about. And it's also a way for me. I'm a very shy person, so I don't like being out there. I never did drama at school or anything, and I am really keen to be able to sort of have a voice about something, but do it in a quite a civilised way. I've never really been a big fan of big protest groups and things like that, but I can actually sit there and have a gentle approach to this and still be able to sort of give my message across. And I'm very happy to join the girls on a Friday, and I look forward to it. So.
Morley, for you, you're an artist in your other life, shall we say. Tell me about the importance of peaceful protest and joining a group like the Knitting Nannas. What was it that particularly appealed to you?
Well, it began at the Irish Club, where I saw a documentary that was made by a fella called David Smith, and the doco was called Pipe Dream Fractured Lives. And I went to the Irish Club because I'd heard about it through DDEC, that it was going to be shown.
So just explain to our listeners, we have interviewed Ari and they would hopefully be familiar with DDEC, but it's the
Darling Downs Environmental Council. Yeah. I just felt that I needed to understand the process of fracking, and I needed to understand what the implications were, what was involved, and the effects that it had on the people that were involved in it. So I toddled down, and who should be there but Rhonda? And so I connected with her previously, but at the movie I was able to reconnect. And she explained that this is what she planned to do. And after, I was so shocked, having seen this doco, which was just so frightening, that I felt that I had to do something. And so that's really what prompted me to go and sit with the girls on Friday between 8 and 10.
Outside David Janetsky's office. Indeed. On Ruthven Street. Morley, what was it that frightened you so much in that movie?
Well, in a word, the greed. here were people, farmers, who were looking to have some sort of cash into their lives for their superannuation, for their retirement. And what they ended up with was a house that wasn't worth anything, land that wasn't worth anything, and nothing. And illness. Many people, the methane and the gases affect their health, their lungs. Well, people had to move off, go and live somewhere else. So it's horrifying. It's horrifying. They compared what was happening in the US and what's happening here, Tara, Chinchilla, and Cecil Plains, and I was horrified. I mean, where I fit in all of this in terms of an art project, I don't know, but there'll definitely be one. I don't see how it can't be expressed in some way. Yeah. Yes, it's horrifying.
And tell me about the Nanifesto. What does that explain, Fran?
Well, I can be honest, and I haven't read it thoroughly, but I'm very, very keen on any organisation or group having some sort of written statement as to who they are and what they do and how they conduct themselves, So, and I think it's very important to have some sort of orderly conduct when we do things. I'm not a rabbly rouser type person, and as I said to Rhonda recently, I sometimes think we get more flies with honey than we do with vinegar. And the reality being, once we start to get agitated ourselves, but if you go off the path of what direction you're planning to go on, I think is you lose track of what your purpose is. So for me to actually have documentation and a story and history and something to follow, I'm quite a structured person, so I enjoy having these things to look at.
Is that the podiatrist in you, Fran?
I think it's probably more, I wouldn't call it the scientific approach, but it's the approach where, well, you just can't make things up. You just can't, pull things out of the air and just, bleat about it. It needs to be something that you can go back to and you can quote and you can reference, and and there's some validity then in what your statements are. And it also gives people an opportunity not to follow a dogmatic approach. I'm very much of, if anyone says something, I do go and investigate. Almost sounds like an AI problem now, but don't get me started. But realistically, we need to be able to sort of go back and reference things and have a, like a sensible attitude towards things.
So would you say that, it's following the science, isn't it, of what's happening?
Well, it is. And it's the visual things that are really disturbing. I remember seeing something where somebody had turned on a tap and set fire to the water. And I'm thinking, what sort of world are we living in, And you see the river bubbling and you see fishes, not doing fish things because they're dead because of what's happened in their environment. And so I just feel that as one person we can't do a lot, but as a group together. And I like to use the analogy of a piece of straw. Now, one piece of straw can't do much, but you get a bunch of it together, it makes a pretty good broom. So it's having like-minded people, and it's also having just a good focus, and everyone's going in the same direction. It's, groups tend to get very, power struggles and all sorts of things, and there's a lot of disharmony. So, for me, it's having some sort of harmony within the group, and it's not too radicalised.
What I was referring to then with the Nanifesto was about the not being politically aligned, Rhonda. And what do you pledge to do with your Nanifesto?
So the Nanifesto is not political. We say that we annoy all politicians equally.
I like that.
Which is, regardless of who's in power, if they're not doing the right thing, then we need to call them out. But the thing I really like about the Nannas is that it's mostly older ladies that in society now feel like they may become a bit invisible, saying, well, we have got opinions and we do care about what happens in the future. And we have wisdom, so we know a little bit about what we're talking about, and we can do, as Fran said, we can do this in a quiet way. When there's been big, I was involved in the Nannas sort of right from the beginning. and the Bentley blockade that happened in New South Wales, the Nannas went along there and set up a little tent, and they provided drinks and, homemade bickies and Band-Aids and sunscreen. And so they were the support people behind the ones that were locking on to the machinery, because we're not really able to do that anymore, even if we wanted to. When I see koala trees being chopped down, I'd like to do that. But it's a little bit difficult as you get older. But this is still a way that we can make a difference and feel like we're doing something, even on a small level.
Well, I read a quote about the history of the Knitting Nannas, and it was when Christine Milne had donated her Knitting Nanna's beret to the Australian Museum of Democracy, and she said, referencing the Knitting Nannas, they have tapped into the deep well of country women's strength and resilience. They are the iron fist in the soft yellow glove, forthright women in their prime of their time and their time. So and of their time. So I think that sort of describes you beautifully, doesn't it? Yeah. Talk to me, Morley, about the importance of the knitting or the crafting. Why is that something that is integral to the group? And not just something cute, the Knitting Nannas. I don't see it as.
Well, I think knitting and handwork has always been associated with women since time immemorial. It's an act of love, making garments for family. During the wars, women knit socks and scarves and balaclavas are part of their contribution. So I think it has huge significance in terms of an expression of love. But so we're there with our wool and with our needles and we're knitting away. And so the subtext is love from where I sit.
And I also see it as a creative process, because we are making something. It might be something simple, but it's something useful. And everything has a purpose and a place, and it doesn't matter how insignificant it is, it doesn't have to be a Rolls Royce, everything, but just simple things like scarves and that. And, who knows, we might have enough to sort of hand out to the homeless people around, because there are a group of women who do knit for the homeless people who live in the bus shelter, and things like that. And, so it's something, it's making something rather than pulling something apart and destroying something. So I like that process.
I love that. What happens if you can't knit? Does someone teach you to knit, or can you do some other sort of craft, or what's the...
I'm actually doing Tunisian crochet.
You terrible snog.
In the past, Knitting Nannas have taught people how to knit if they'd like to come along and learn. They're really welcome to do that. You don't have to be a Nana and you don't have to knit. You don't even have to be a female. We do have some poppers in the Knitting Nannas that come along and help out.
Is it also the methodical nature of working with your hands and talking while you're working, and sort of the talking and
yes, it's cathartic sort of in life.
And it's a group of like-minded people. I like sitting, like, whether it's a craft group or whatever, but you're doing similar processes and you're supportive of each other, and you listen to each other and hear the stories and things, and spinning a yarn with our yarn, hey?
Yeah. Tell me about the significance of the colours. Why yellow? Why red?
They're lock the gate colours, the gold and black, the lock the gate colours. And so they were the colours decided on in the beginning. I did have a couple of ladies say to me, what was the significance? And I can't really find out. I've spoken to people that were there right in the beginning, and there doesn't seem to be any particular, just that they're bright. And you can also, with the knitting, if you knit something long enough, you can tie up a farmer's gate with that knitting. And that's been done before today. We've crocheted little rosettes with the colours and a little heart in the middle and given them to all the politicians in the state government. That was done a number of years ago. So there's lots and lots of ways the craft ties in with the activism.
So you've been outside David Janetsky's office. What sort of success have you had, or how do you measure success?
The beep meter.
Morley knows that.
I count the tooths.
Count the tooths?
Yes.
What does that mean?
People go past and they toot.
Oh, the toot.
Can I
Yes,
count?
yes. Me being one of them. Yes.
Yeah. How do we measure success? People wave. We wave at people. People give money as they walk past.
Specifically, I was sort of thinking more, you've met with David Janetsky, who's given you some time.
Yes.
How do you feel that went?
He was very generous, actually. He gave us 45 minutes, which is quite impressive, I think, for somebody in his position, a very busy position that he holds. I think it went really well. David Janetsky, I think, as a person, would possibly have different views to the government possibly holds around this question, but he is part of a government, and that's kind of the thing I got reading between the lines a little bit, because he grew up out at Auckland, and we know what's happened out there. The town is practically being destroyed by mining. So yeah, I think he was very good. He gave us a copy of his energy roadmap, which he said to us we would not like, and we don't, because the state government's going to be spending lots of money propping up old coal mines and keeping them going, even just for another 2 or 3 or 4 years, which seems to be a waste of resources. I mean, you could be putting that into renewables. But he was quite generous with his time.
Why did you decide to go there rather than, say, the member for Toowoomba North's office?
Well, we did discuss this in the early days of this. There were only 2 of us. So I think because David Janetsky's the resource minister and he's the treasurer, so he's got his hand on the money, and I think that makes him quite a powerful man. Before the last election, Pat Weir promised that the Condamine would not be touched, but out at Cecil Plains, that's not going to be the case with what they're planning on doing out there. But Pat Weir's the speaker, so of course he doesn't, have a lot of power as such.
So tell me specifically what project it is that you have sort of taken. I know that you've sort of taken exception to all of it, but is it not the processing plant at Linwood?
Out at Cecil Plains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Morley was out there visiting.
Yes.
Some families out there.
Yes, I had the opportunity to visit a property out there that is being directly affected. It's been encircled by an energy company that's bought up the properties around. So they're sort of like an island in the middle, struggling to survive. And they're encountering all sorts of problems. Subsidence, there are a whole lot of issues, as well as the air, the chemicals and the methane that's coming from what's happening around them.
And Morley, in your experience with this family, how do they feel that the process is in terms of dealing with the gas companies, that it's a level playing field, or are they sort of, they don't know what their neighbour's got and the person down the road, and you're kind of picking off people against each other in community?
Well, yes, that was one of the points that was made, how this process has disrupted community, the sense of community in the area, which is very distressing for the people that have decided to stay. For those people that have decided to sell, that's a different story. Yeah, it's been incredibly disruptive.
So obviously you're all sort of fairly environmentally aware and active. Tell me your thoughts on the kind of like that gas is the transition to renewables. It's a transition fuel between coal and renewables.
Well, see, I'm a bit alarmed at the moment because this whole new process of building homes is you can't have a gas stove because of the dangers involved with that. So to me, why is gas going to be so great if it's going to be used on a bigger scale when they're telling us not to use it in our homes? And it's just becoming quite a common thing that you don't put gas stoves in your house. So why do we want to have a big gas power thing down the road?
I think the problem with that is that most of the gas and most of these companies are overseas-based companies. This money's not coming back into Australia. So they are taking out at Cecil Plains, that is all going overseas. None of that gas goes to local consumption. So in that case, if your argument is that we need it for a transition, we're not seeing that gas anyway. And that's happening in a lot of places. The federal government's just brought in a week or two ago that there will be some gas. They do need to hold some gas on shore. But as far as transition goes, we've got enough now with what's happening. There are new licenses being given all the time for exploration. The whole of southeast Queensland is going to be covered in these things, and it's not necessary. It's not needed for transmission, that transition across to the renewables.
I think the battery storage is probably one of the biggest challenges for everyone in the energy market. But you're specifically worried mostly about the water, is that right? You know, what's happening to the alluvium. Is that sort of your biggest concern? Because, you know, water is life and everyone's life matters.
And water is, you know, it's a finite resource, water. We can't just get some more. We can't just pluck it from the sky. We can't make it rain, unfortunately.
Well, you can drill into the artesian basin.
The fabulous Michael Caton from the castle said, once the egg's scrambled, you can't unscramble it. And that's exactly what's going to happen with the water. We can't change it once it's toxic and unusable and dry. And the artesian basin covers a huge amount of our country. That's where we get our water from. And it's being drilled into as we speak. As for the Condamine, you know, the Condamine, all of the rivers up here in Queensland, as we know, they all run down into New South Wales and Victoria. So the effects of what we're doing up here is going to hit them down there as well with the water.
So, Rhonda, just to go back a couple of steps and how you got involved, you said that there was just two of you to start. What had you been doing? You'd been involved in a group down, you said, was that around Lismore?
I have a friend in Lismore who got me involved in the Knitting Nannas at the beginning. I went to the first conference that they held in Lismore RSL, and there was a big bunch of women there. So I, at that time, lived on the Gold Coast, so I tried to get a group going on the Gold Coast. Just couldn't get numbers there. Gold Coast is hard to drag people away from the beach, I think. And then we tried to get a group going in Brisbane. And it wasn't the right time for me to take it on. There just wasn't somebody to sort of, you know, as I said, collect the emails. And so when I came to Toowoomba, that was what I wanted to do 5 years ago. I was keen to start a Knitting Nannas, and I've talked about it for a long time. And I had some illness last year, and I thought, right, I'm going to have to get this going. And it just seems to be the right time. You know, we've had positive. Last Friday, we had a little bit of negative reaction from people, but on the whole, it's been very positive from people.
I'll just remind the listeners that you're with us on Big Little Small Talk. My name's Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and we're talking to the Knitting Nannas, who sit outside David Janetsky's office on Ruthven Street from 8 till 10 on a Friday morning. We've got Fran, Morley and Rhonda telling us about their motivations and why they decided to become a Knitting Nana. So you just said, it's now or never. I've got to do it. I've got to sort of put my money where my mouth is.
Well, my inspiration is a fabulous lady called Leanne Brummel who lives out at St George. And a number of years ago, Leanne started doing this on her own. So she sat in the street on her own for a long time. And I thought, wow, copping abuse from people, all sorts. And I thought, this woman is amazing. I'm hoping she's going to come and join us for one of our knittings soon. But yeah, I spoke to her a couple of years ago probably and said, we've really got to do this, and we've got to just start small. Anyone can come along, you know, just come along and join us and chat to us. Come along every once a month, once a fortnight, once every 3 months.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Yeah. Morley, you said that you're measuring success by the toots. Are you gathering more people? Every week, is there more people coming along?
Yes, it fluctuates, but I think we started with 3 and then we became 7. Yes. And it's a movable feast. Some people commit themselves once a fortnight. Other people come every week. It's just a question of what other commitments they have. Yeah.
I guess what I really loved reading about it was all of the statements we're doing it for future generation. We're doing it for our kids. And just nothing kind of fits better. It just fits together really nicely, doesn't it? You know, we're nannas. We care. We're doing this craft as a peaceful and calm thing to do, a way to protest. It's just, do you feel, tell me about the importance of being out there and who you're representing. You're representing lots of people who can't be there, including working people, aren't you?
Or people that are unwell.
Yeah.
People that are unwell can still contribute. They can still be keyboard warriors. We send in a lot of submissions to the government, signing petitions and sending in submissions and just making a noise. At the end of last year, I sent an email to the Prime Minister and Tanya Purvisek every day over Christmas and New Year, every single day. So, you know, it's only limited to your imagination what you can do in this space, really.
I love it. I do love the fact that you're there, you know, for representing people who are at home with young children or workers or the infirmed or, in this really quiet, peaceful way. Yeah. What do you say? You're sitting, knitting and plotting. Yes. Isn't that what you're doing? Yes.
We plot a lot.
Plotting a lot. Tell me, say, about the fear of being arrested or jailed or anything like that.
Oh, look, I jokingly said to my husband, you know, if, you'll need to bail me out. But look, obviously, I've always been a stickler for doing the right thing. You know, I mean, I can't possibly do the wrong thing, you know, because that's just how I was brought up. We were in a generation where honesty is the best policy and things. And I think I'd be absolutely mortified if I got arrested for anything.
Is there, I wouldn't imagine, you know, civil disobedience sitting out on the footpath? I don't know that we've gone so far that you can get arrested for that, can you?
No, I don't think so.
As long as we're not blocking people's fare, there's no law against what we're doing. We have had people comment on us parking in that parking space that you do need to be a customer. So we do
buy a coffee.
We buy our coffee at the cafe there, which is excellent coffee. So we are customers and we're only there, the limit is 3 hours, we're only there for 2. If by chance there was anything really wrong with that, we would park out on the street.
Mm. And tell me about your own families, your own grandkids. Do you have any grandchildren, Morley?
No.
Right. And what about you?
Either.
Oh my goodness.
I just want to be a nana.
I just want to be a nana.
We're playing at being nanas.
Well, say your nieces and nephews, are they kind of holding you up like pop stars and saying, oh, here they are? Because, you know, people are a bit weird about older people anyway, I have found as I've got older. You know, they're a bit sort of like, you need to be in your box, you know? And, you know, you're flying in the face of ageism and sexism and all of this.
Oh, exactly. And when you go to Brisbane, I've done quite a lot in Brisbane with the girls from Lismore coming up. And young people want to get their photo taken.
Oh, yeah. That's what I knew. Rock stars.
They really get into it. And the nannas from Lismore, they are a lot of divas. They love getting their photo out there in the social media. I know they won't mind me saying that. So, yeah, it is. It's interesting. I have 8 grandchildren. So I did bring them along in the school holidays, didn't I, one day? Yeah. I had some child minding responsibilities, so I brought them along.
What did they think about that? What did they think about Nana being out there and holding placards and things?
They just think I'm crazy. You know, I just do strange, crazy things. And, yeah, I don't think they quite understand, although they did ask me a little bit about what was going on. And my own children were at demonstrations as babies in prams way, you know, ban the bomb and all of that stuff during the Cold War. And
I love it. So you have been a protesting person.
Yeah.
What are some of the other protests that you've done over the years? Well, you mentioned ban the bomb, the nuclear, Save the Daintree.
Yes, yeah.
All of that, the Rankin River, yeah.
And yeah, no uranium mining, anti-uranium mining, all of those ones. And on a local level, where I lived in Melbourne, the school was just a lot of prefabs with a little main admin block. And I said, well, this is not good enough, is it? So we got a group of parents together. We took the kids up to Parliament House in Melbourne and sat outside there. We had a little tent embassy, and the TV came by to the tent embassy. Luckily, it was pouring with rain and freezing cold. And we said, well, this is all we've got. We need buildings in this school. And we got the school. But I'd moved to Perth by then, so I didn't. I got invited back to the opening of the school, but my kids didn't get the value of it. But I've always been against injustice anywhere in the world, and this is injustice. This is our farmers. I want to eat food made in Australia, and I think the majority of your listeners do too. We want to eat food from China or the Philippines or Indonesia. Not that there's anything wrong with those places. And that's what we're going to come to if we don't have water and if we wreck our farmland.
You did almost like a Bob Catter type pivot there. You were talking about protesting.
I did a lot. My husband hates it.
Segue.
A little bit of a segue. Rhonda, in your other life, you're a marriage celebrant, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the name is Birdsong Marriages and so, yeah?
Birdsong Weddings, yes. Well, it's on the back burner a little bit now, because last year when I was unwell, I couldn't really commit to weddings, and I don't want to let anyone down, say, oh yeah, I'll marry you in September or October, and then I'm not well to do that. So it's been a bit on the back burner, and I'm sort of on the verge of retirement, but I love doing it, so I can't quite let it go.
I know this is probably really a cliche question, but what's the kookiest, craziest wedding you've ever done?
Oh.
Talk about segues or pivoting.
Weddings, they're all different.
Have you ever had to marry a nude couple or something like that?
No.
No.
I married some people from Ipswich one time, and they were a little bit out there. They were a little bit unusual. And when we got down, they'd booked this lovely place down near Warwick.
Kalani.
They'd booked this, and she had the most beautiful dress. Like, she paid a couple of $1,000 for this dress. And it rained, and it flooded, and Ipswich was flooding, and they all had to go home. So we did the wedding on the veranda of this rather ordinary motel that they were staying in. And yeah, that was probably a little bit of a strange one. So that was. I had my car backed up to the front of the motel with my speaker system in the back with plastic all over it to try to keep it dry, and so they just had their wedding and rushed off, and
that was the last you saw of them, yeah. And what about you? You're still working, Fran, as a podiatrist?
Trying to retire. And one of the reasons of joining with DDEC was, I've always been involved with people and caring for people and things like that. So in my professional capacity, and I didn't sort of want to have a retirement where I was cut off from anybody and everything. And so I just thought I'd volunteer. So I just do some admin stuff at DDEC with Ari, and I really enjoy that, and it's just good, calm, quiet work. I don't know a lot about environmental. I'm not as well spoken as these girls, when it comes to quoting names and places and things. I just am very passionate about keeping things in good condition, so... Yeah,
following the rules. We've heard that a few times from
following
Fran.
the rules.
Yeah.
Well, but rules are there not to be broken, but they're guidance, But they don't have to be totally static, We do need to question, and we do need to sort of generate things, and and nothing stays the same, Nothing's permanent, So it's really a case of doing that. So for me, my retirement, I'm just being able to learn a bit more about how to care for my 3 acres that we have on the edge of the bush, how to care for the animals that are coming through, and just trying to have something there to hand on to the next generation. So this is my learning phase. I've been so focused on doing my work and doing it well, and now I'm in an area where I don't know much, and I'm learning as I go, and I'm finding it quite exciting, actually. So,
Fran, as a podiatrist, were you surrounded by men in your profession?
It's always been a fairly female-based profession. Yes, and that's not in a sexist way, but in the old days, the chiropodists or chiropodists, were mainly female. And but I suppose my profession changed radically from when I graduated in 1979 to what I was doing at the at the other end of my career, and and the thing is to keep up to date, so as new processes came in, I went back and retrained and studied and things. And right at the end of my career, I was an endorsed prescriber where, if somebody came in on a Friday with an infected toe, I could actually write out a prescription for antibiotics because, fat chance you've got of getting in to see a doctor or anything anywhere. So, that was quite a big thing for me to be able to not get stuck, not stay that static one part of my career. So my career's evolved. But for me, one of the things I learned was, I ended up sort of setting up the high-risk foot clinic at the Toowoomba Hospital where people are literally at the end of their tether and you're sort of doing everything you can to sort of keep their legs on and stop them from dying of infection and things like that. And I thought to myself, this is crazy. We shouldn't be trying to fix the problem. We should be trying to prevent the problem from happening in the first place. So for me, primary care is the key, and it doesn't matter whether it's about the environment, about health, about anything. We need to focus our energy at the beginning rather than trying to fix up the problems at the end.
Well, Fran, you say you're not very well spoken. I think that was beautifully said. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, well, it's something I'm passionate about.
Yes, yeah. And you can see that. And Morley, you are a well-known Toowoomba identity with your career as an artist. You've just feeling brave taking this work on, do you think?
I've been brave my whole career, so it's really just more of the same. And artists don't ever retire. They just keep making art until they can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm finding the whole issue of CSG really, really, really interesting. I can't believe that we can do this to the land. I mean, for a 30-year period of profit and gain, and then what's left is destruction. I just can't follow the logic.
It feels unbelievable.
It's completely.
Do you feel with this group or at any other part of time in your life that you're kind of unstoppable with this? You just are driven by anger and passion?
I'm driven by passion. I'm not particularly driven by anger. I think in my work, I take on issues. It's mostly related to women, issues to do with women in the exhibition work that I've done. But yeah, for me, this is simply another issue for me to try and address and try and find a way to be proactive and effective. At this point, I don't quite know what form that's going to take. But yeah, that's the challenge for me.
I'm just going to ask you each a question, and you might need a tiny bit of time to think about it. What's your favourite childhood memory, Rhonda?
Oh, favourite childhood memory. Oh, I don't know. I've got a lot of good childhood memories. I was very fortunate in my childhood. Probably just going to the beach with the family. I was a water baby. I was never, ever out of the water. So probably nothing.
Where was the beach that you went to as a family?
Phillip Bay in Melbourne. I grew up in Melbourne.
And was that where your love of the environment and the natural beauty that we have in Australia?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I've always loved the water. But now I've done the tree change to come up here. I just loved it. Well, I'm loving the trees more all the time. I think I've always loved trees, but I could sit and watch trees, like the wind in the leaves is just magical. But anyway, yeah, that's probably just because the family, we had extended family there and cousins and aunts and uncles and we'd all go to the beach and they'd all be, getting in the car to go home and realise that I was missing and I was still, flapping around on the edge of the water.
In the water, yeah. What about you, Fran? Do you have a favourite childhood memory?
Oh, look, I think it was the Sunday drives. My parents were migrants and they came out to Australia in 1954 from Holland. Post-war, Europe was quite a dreadful place and they were in their early 20s when the war was on. So, life wasn't so great. So they had the opportunity to come to Australia and we settled. I was actually born in Australia and we settled in Maroochydore initially. And Dad had an old Zephyr ute, and in those days you didn't have to be everyone strapped in. You could all throw the kids all in the back, and we all went slow enough not to have an accident and things like that. And we'd go for a Sunday drive, whether it was up to Majimba or Rainbow Beach or whatever, Yeah, and we'd have a bit of a picnic, or Dad had a bit of a timber boat that we went along the Maroochy River on, and I can remember tins of pineapple and, just little snippets of things. I mean, mind you, it's a long time ago. And it was the freedom, and I just, all those sorts of things, and I just feel sad that children now don't really have that freedom that we had, even when my son's 40 now, but even when he was little, I was terrified, wouldn't let him out of my sight. And yet here we were as children, we'd go cruising up, we'd go to the cotton tree and go for a swim, or go and get soldier crabs off the mud flats. But there just doesn't seem to be the freedom. There's so much restriction in fear of safety and things. So yes, I know, but I just love the Sunday drive.
Yeah, that's a good sort of simple fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
Go for a drive. Yeah, I think we all did that. Yeah.
Ice cream or something.
Yeah.
Nice.
In my case, my parents would usually probably go to the pub in Tewantin or something like that and be full as ticks driving home, unfortunately. But thankfully, we were all right. And you, Morley, do you have a favourite?
The memory that is most important is my mother's prized possession was her Elna sewing machine. It was a green Elna with a hip control. And she taught me how to use the machine when I was 6 years old. And I've used sewing machines ever since, fearlessly. It's like somehow I'm able to make a sewing machine do whatever I wanted to do for whatever challenge I'm sort of trying to figure out.
Yeah.
The Elna sewing machine.
And so
is the moment.
what's a hip control?
Well, you don't have a
Foot.
You have a bracket, a piece of metal that comes out of the sewing machine, and you just use your hip to control it.
Never seen one of those.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the go.
That was the start of the crafting career, do you
Absolutely,
think?
definitely.
Yeah.
Textiles is my area.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, I have so enjoyed speaking to the Knitting Nannas, but knit on Nannas, I want to know your last two questions. Now, hopefully you haven't been comparing notes, but we'll start with you, Morley, over there.
Right. Which one do you want to do first?
I want to know who your favourite royal is, or is it a royal's?
You ready for this?
I think so.
I'll give you two.
Okay.
So the royal is a woman called Emma Eliza Coe, 1850 to 1913, known as Queen Emma of New Guinea. She was a pioneering American Samoan entrepreneur who established a vast trading and plantation empire in the 19th century German New Guinea. Based around Kokopo in New Britain, she founded the Rallum plantation and became a dominant, influential figure in South Sea commerce, managing over 60,000 hectares.
And she's just top of mind. You just happen to know about Emma Coe.
I do, because I went to school in PNG and I went to school in this area, right? So the background is she was born in Apia, Samoa, to a Samoan princess and an American consul. She utilised her mixed heritage to navigate both local customs and Western business, often being recognised as a princess due to her maternal lineage.
Lovely. And do we get to just have a brief second one?
Yeah. Oh, and why did I choose her? Because she was a strong, determined and successful woman.
I love it.
Okay, the second one, as a dyed-in-the-wool Republican woman like me, it's difficult for me to find a royal to admire. The best I can do is Prince Albert, 1819 to 1861, Queen Victoria's husband. Why? He had progressive ideas, one of which was the Great Exhibition of 1851, the first international exhibition of manufactured products featuring over 13,000 exhibitors from the United Kingdom, its colonies such as Canada, India, Ceylon and Australia, and 44 foreign nations. Key participating countries included France, the United States, He died of typhoid at the age of 42, to Queen Victoria's everlasting grief.
Okay, you really did your homework there.
I did my homework.
What about you, Fran, coming
I
around
only
the
saw
table?
the question late this afternoon.
Well, you might give me a shorter answer than Morley's then.
By royal, I thought, well, leader or, sort of somebody. So somebody I have a huge admiration for is the Dalai Lama. And he shows that by peace, by compassion, and by, universal sort of things, the equality of everybody, that, you can sort of manage difficulties. I mean, how he's managed the horrors of what happened in Tibet in the late 50s, and things. And he bears no malice to the Chinese people per se. He's very supportive of everybody and treats everybody equally and fairly. So for him, he's just a simple Buddhist monk, not a... So for me, that really is the person I have a huge admiration.
Equating royal with leader, I like that a lot. What about you, Rhonda?
Well, I'm a bit like Morley. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Republican too, but I have to say, Prince George, I think he's the little villain of the piece. I think he's a cheeky little fella.
Talking George or Louis? Louis is the younger one.
Oh, Louis.
Yeah, he's a bit of a cheeky. Yeah.
Prince Louis.
Not that I know my royal.
I think he's a very cute little boy, and I just want to pinch his cheeks. So, yeah, I think I've got a bit of a soft spot for little dude.
Yeah, he likes to do the dancing, and he's always sort of,
He's always
pulling
the one-
tongues
yeah,
and
he's
that he
always
shouldn't be.
The photo doing something.
Yeah.
And
Pulling faces.
You shouldn't be doing that.
And I do like the fact that he is what you're doing your work for. He's the next generation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That the world has to survive for all of those people. Okay, now quickly tell me, what's your song that can't keep you off the dance floor? Fran.
I've never gotten onto a dance floor.
Oh, you are kidding me.
No,
What's wrong
I'm
with
just-
you, girl?
I was just too shy. I was really always very self-conscious. So I was, always the one hiding and things like that. And yeah, and it's funny. I mean, it's not like I'm frightened of people are doing things, but I just really never was an exhibitionist, I suppose,
You've never danced, is that?
Well, I do dance, but there was nothing I'd sort of go, I wouldn't get out there and do the nut bush with everybody. And, mainly because I have no rhythm. If you that classic movie of Steve Martin in The Jerk, where he has no rhythm, that's me,
That's you. Do you have a song? What's a song that...
Look, I like anything from the 70s. That to me was a very happy time. So I'm very sort of stuck. Don't ask me any questions about who's performed in the 80s, 90s. I wouldn't know any Taylor Swift song, nothing. But yeah, any
70s, yeah.
70s.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Molly, you got a favourite song or a song that can't keep you off the dance floor?
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Mamma Mia, ABBA.
Oh, fabulous. Yes. And Rhonda,
I've probably got
you've got the
couple
last
too.
word. Oh, yes. These girls, they don't just have one, they have a few.
Love Shack, the B-52s. That's a must. And Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. And I think that's a very appropriate place for me to end this interview with the Knitting Nannas. And you're not just having fun, you're actually doing really incredible work while you're having fun. And I think we all owe you a debt of gratitude for it. And so thank you very much. And thank you for being my guests on Big Little Small Talk.
And thank you for talking to us.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app. Well done, girls.
I've got the creaky chair.
You have got the creaky chair.
Oh, Morley saying,
Oh, you got the creaky
Yeah, she had the creaky chair. And I know what this does to sound. Because I've made enough movies to know.
So while you were hanging...
She wasn't suddenly my BFF.
I did think that.
Sorry.
That's all right. And it wasn't invading my space. I knew exactly why you were doing it. And when I had to reposition my bum, I thought, how am I going to do this without making it go...
You've been listening to a 102.7 FM Toowoomba original podcast. For more podcasts or to listen to live and local Toowoomba radio, please visit 1027.com.au or listen on iHeartRadio and Community Radio Plus apps.